Okay, the time is now 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Ms. Pollier.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. Clerk, please call the roll.
Greenberg,
Here.
Hicks,
Here.
Mako,
Here.
Chappaka,
Here.
Siriano,
Here.
Tamarkin,
Here.
Collier.
Here.
Next item on the agenda, additions or corrections to the agenda. Don't believe we have any.
No, sir.
Moving on, approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the March 27th, 2024 meeting?
So moved by Hicks.
Moved by Hicks. Do I have a second?
Second, Suriano.
Second by Mr. Soriano. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Hicks,
Yes.
Siriano,
Yes.
Mako,
Yes.
Chappaka,
Yes.
Tamarkin,
Yes.
Collier,
Yes.
Greenberg.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is swearing in of applicants and speakers. I'll recognize the city attorney to swear in any speakers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are now at the public hearing portion of the meeting. The public hearing will operate as follows. Administrative staff will make a presentation or comment on the application. The applicant or their representative may then make a presentation or comment on the application. The applicant has 10 minutes to present, and additional time may be requested. Permission is at the discretion of the chair. Public comment will then be open for 3 minutes allowed per speaker. Additional time may be requested. Permission is at the discretion of the chair. Speakers must complete a speaker slip and come to the podium and state their name and address. The applicant will then be given 10 minutes to comment. Additional time may be requested. Permission is at the discretion of the chair. There is more than one application pending for a particular address. Presentation on each application may be consolidated and presented as one. At this time, will persons wishing to present testimony this evening please rise and raise your right hand to be sworn in? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, state I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. Next item on the agenda, applications. We have 395 East Johnstown Road. This will be a variance application, and I'll read it into the record. Application title V-0006-2024 to consider a variance application to vary sections 1171.03F, section 1171.03, section K, and section 1171.03, section G, fence standards of the codified ordinances of the city of Gahanna for property located at 395 East Johnstown Road, parcel ID 025-001945, current zoning SF-2, Kathy Costigan applicant. I'll turn it over to the administration for a presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Michael Blackford, pinch hitting for Mandy Kapka tonight. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here. Unfortunately for her, she had a birthday. It's on. I'll work. How about this? All right. All right, so tonight we have a variance request. It's located on Johnstown Road. It's right south of the parking lot right here, which is owned by the church right up here, but really serves as the parking, sort of the trailhead here for the trail and improvements, the pedestrian bridge that the city did a few or several years ago. A lot of different uses in this particular area. Most of them are residential in nature or accessory. There's a number of park spaces here to the west, the creek, We got Cherry Bottom just to the north. These are really the only, it's this lot and this lot just to the south are really the only two lots that front Johnstown Road on the west side, south of Cherry Bottom. So tonight, what are they here for? Well, they're here for a variance request to allow a fence, and it's to allow a 6-foot-tall privacy fence to extend into the front yard and have the unfinished side facing the adjacent property. There was historically, until recently, a chain link fence that looks to be about 3.5, 4 feet tall. That was in the same area as this proposed fence. That fence was damaged, and it was replaced. It was replaced without getting a permit. City staff, code enforcement noticed, and that's why we're here tonight. Site plan's up on your screen. Not a whole bunch to see on this particular site plan. We got the north arrow. So this is kind of looking west towards the creek. Most of the property is, in or around the creek. There's not a lot usable here. That's why everything's sort of this line. They are not proposing to enclose the property with a fence. That would be possible to do. Just the area here in yellow, that's where they're proposing to have a fence. But the area in red is where the fence would be allowed. As you may have noticed in the staff report, there was an issue where the fence is, I believe, about 2 feet into the right-of-way. Regardless of what happens here tonight, approval, disapproval, the fence has to come down out of the right-of-way. Here's a before and after photo there. On the left was the existing condition with the chain link fence and the shrubbery. On the right, rather stark contrast. That's why code enforcement noticed the fence. You can see the finished side facing the home in the picture is the adjacent property owner's home. So the fence right here, this is the finished side. This faces their property. The code would say that it has to face the opposite way. However, regardless of where they put a fence right here, if it's a privacy fence in this style, you're going to see the unfinished side on either the north or the south property. 3 variances, all to have fences in the front yard. So the code does allow for some fencing in the front yard. It allows for what we call decorative open fences, 42 inches in height or less. There's a property down the street from here, the cemetery, just to the south, that has a decorative open fence in the front yard. It's a split rail fence. So again, it does not meet the type of fence, and that's why we have the second code provision there. Code prohibits privacy fences in the front yard. You can have them in the side and rear yard. We made a lot of changes to the fence code back in 2020. We looked at a lot of these, and at that particular time when we made our extensive fence code changes, privacy fences were only allowed in the rear yard. They weren't allowed in the side yard. So it was a big change to have us allowed in the side yard. The last standard there is, again, the finished side of the fence adjacent to properties and or right-of-way. Regardless of where they put, if it's a privacy fence of this style, you're going to have an unfinished side. And that unfinished side is going to be facing the right-of-way regardless of where they place it. So here is our request summary. This is in your staff report. I'm not going to go through all the various variance statements here, but there's a few that I would probably point out. Whether or not the variance is substantial or not, that's all for you all to determine. Whether the property owner's predicament feasibly can be obviated without a variance. So are there alternatives to a 6-foot-tall privacy fence? Again, staff just informed you that, again, a 42-inch decorative open fence is permissible. And that would not be a chain link fence, though, so they couldn't replace, now that the chain link fence is gone, they couldn't replace it with a chain link fence. It has to be decorative open. Or they could also have shrubs and bushes, something of that nature. The other one here I'd point out, whether the fence is sufficiently compatible with the architecture and design character of the immediate neighborhood. A lot of times we talk about variances, we're not looking at architectural styles and that, we're really approving a setback variance or something of that nature. In this case, it's a specific type of fence, so we can consider the design and the appropriateness of the fence in that particular area. Staff, we have no objections to the application, and we defer to Planning Commission. I just point out a few things. Again, regardless of what happens here tonight, the fence is going to, the portion that's in the right-of-way, it's going to have to be removed. Regardless of, how they position a privacy fence, you're probably going to see an unfinished side from Johnstown Road. I would say that there is only one adjacent property that's directly impacted. There's one residential property to the south. I know the applicant provided in their application that they spoke to the resident and they didn't have any objections. I would say that I did a little research before the meeting tonight and went back through all the variances from the last 5 or so years. I'm not aware of any similar front yard fence variances such as this. What Planning Commission typically sees for front yard fence variances would be fences on corner lots. And we made code adjustments back in 2020. That's why we've seen a decrease in fence variance requests. You might be wondering if new code would affect this particular request or not. It would not impact this request. So whether this is the future code that'll be in place here in about a month, the fence standards aren't changing. So again, part of all the outreach we did and the conversations we have, we never spoke about allowing privacy fences in the front yard and that. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Blackford. We'll now open public comment. Would the applicant like to come and comment? If you could speak directly into the microphone and state your name, address, and relationship to the project, that'd be great.
Hi, I'm Kathy Costigan, 395 East Johnstown Road, and I'm the owner of the home. No worries. Did you guys hear me, or do you want me to state again?
You're good.
Okay, good. Well, basically, I just wanted to say the only reason that we put the unfinished side towards our neighbor is because he's got a really thick hedgerow there, and we were unable to work around it. Yeah, that super high, and actually, when we moved in, you couldn't even see his house. His front yard was so overgrown. So we've spent the last 5 years taming his yard, getting it under control. We took a chainsaw over and helped him and got it all cleared out and everything. But when it came time, actually what happened was one of my hair clients, I own a hair salon there, and yes, I have a permit for that. One of my elderly clients drove through the fence. And because it was from the 50s, it wasn't able to be fixed because they couldn't bend it back. So when we started getting estimates to have it changed, it was so expensive to do a new chain link that we decided it would be better to do the wood. And then my husband and I actually put it up ourselves. So that's why there was no permit pulled, because we didn't know we needed one when we were replacing. So does anybody have any questions?
We'll get the questions here in a second.
Okay.
All right. Do we have anyone from the public who'd like to comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll open it up to the commission for questions. Starting on my left, Mr. Shpaka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Christie, so why a 6-foot-high fence?
Because when we priced them both, it was cheaper.
So, I mean, you have the
But be-
hedge.
I'm sorry?
The hedge on the other side is a healthy hedge. I mean, it was
It
providing a
is,
screen
yeah.
for the 42 inches.
It's actually, it's grown up, it's about the same as what the privacy hedge is. In the winter, though, it looks, the fence is more visible because a lot of the leaves fall off the hedge.
Okay. Do you have a dog? Are you keeping anything in the property that has that?
No.
So that is a nice, shining new fence. Are you planning on coloring it, painting it at all, staining it?
Probably stain it, yes. Typically, you let them age for a year first before you put the stain or paint on, so it hasn't quite been up a year yet. But once it has been, we'll probably either paint it a complementary color to the house or stain it. Actually, we'll probably ask our neighbor what he prefers, because it butts up to his privacy fence that's on the side of his house, which was another reason we did that type, because it matches it. So we thought it would be complementary to it.
All right, I have a question for Mr. Blackford. So if they took out every other picket, would that make it a decorative fence?
I believe that there's some specific references somewhere, not in our code, but elsewhere, and it could, I want to say it probably would, that would help one of the variances, but there's
The height being the other, but if they started with that, because, you know, not having the solid mass there, you know, what's the definition of a decorative fence, so.
yeah, I'm having some memories of this being a real issue many years ago and doing a deep dive, and I want to say that it maybe it's defined somewhere, and I want to say maybe like 30% openings or something is in my brain. So to your point, if it was every other slat, that would become decorative. Yes, I believe so.
Coming into play. Can you explain the right-of-way issue? A little more detail, so it sticks out 2 feet to the east or something, or?
Yes, so my understanding is that the yellow line right here, which I know doesn't show up really well on these screens, but you have the right-of-way line right here, which terminates at the end of this red line. And then there's a little bit of the panel that extends into the right-of-way. I mean, I believe it's still like 15, 20 feet from the actual road, but it's in the right-of-way. So again, as part of the permitting process, they got to move this regardless of, you know, whether a variance is granted or not. You can't get a variance to having items within the right-of-way, so it's got to be out of the right-of-way. And I don't know, it may have already been, you know, changed and modified to be out of the right-of-way.
All right, thanks for the clarification. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Polanyi?
Yeah, just a question about the right-of-way. The current fence, or excuse me, the prior fence that was damaged, was that also in the right-of-way?
Yeah, we put this one in the exact same place that the other one was. And if you see from the pictures, there's a privacy hedge that comes this way, and then the fence just butts up to it. So, again, we didn't know that there was a right-of-way there because the old fence was already there.
Well, you had a survey, I'm looking at this survey from Hoy Land Surveying, from 2019, I assume it's when you purchased the property, and it shows very clearly that, that the fence encroaches into that right-of-way. I mean, that's beside the point, because we've already dealt with the right-of-way issue, but my question is why you thought you didn't need any kind of a permit or city permission or anything like that, or even thought to check with the city?
The only reason I didn't is because we used to live in another house on the other side of the creek, and we pulled a permit for our fencing and everything, but we weren't replacing a fence over there. It's ignorance on my part. I didn't know just replacing an existing fence that had been there since the fence people said they thought it was from the 50s. I was just replacing it, so I didn't realize that I needed to pull a permit for that.
Okay. I don't have any more questions.
Mr. Hicks?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Shipak asked why a 6-foot fence. My question is, why a fence? What is your reason for having a fence there?
Well, there was already a fence there, so that was the main reason. And then also, our elderly disabled neighbor has a really hard time keeping his yard intact, and so a lot of weeds just kind of encroach into our yard. And so the wooden fence really did help with that a lot, because I was having to go out and cut his side of the fence weekly with a chainsaw. So that did help. And then I guess the fence there, I guess it had just always been there since I bought the house, so I just assumed it should be there. And like I said, it extends from the one that he has up, so I just figured it made sense that it was supposed to be there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Greenberg?
Guess I'd ask Mr. Blackford if we approve this and the variances, is that setting up a precedent that the planning commission is approving these changes and everyone else who would want to do this and be a high
No.
fence?
Reality of it is yes. I think technically the answer is no, variances are supposed to be a case by case, but inevitably what always occurs is, you know, have we allowed this? If we, you know, and then people are gonna be like, well, if somebody else has it, I saw this, can I do it? You know, and if that's what our new standard should be, then I would say, I'm sure at some point in the near future, we'll have some code changes, but, you know, it's again, it's not something that the city's ever proposed. I would be concerned with setting a precedent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Serrano?
No, my question's been answered. I was just curious. The hedge, I think you stated, is still there, correct, on your
Yes.
neighbor's property?
Yes.
Mr. Markin?
I have no additional comments either. Questions?
Right. The only question I had was, Mr. Greenberg stole my thunder, was about setting precedents. And I think that was thoroughly answered by Mr. Blackford, so thank you for that question. Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion to approve case V-0006-2024?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve item V-0006-2024.
We have a motion by Mr. Hicks. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Ms. Pollier. Any discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Looking at the precedent, I really don't like to have 6-foot fence, privacy fence out in front, but this is a unique situation. It's kind of hidden by the hedges that are there. The color I have a problem with, but I think eventually it'll tone down a little bit. My comment is I will be voting in favor of this, but I want to be cautioned that when you replace the other fence, that I will not be in favor of, because it's a different situation to where it's out on the property right now. And it has a different relationship because it's being hidden.
Do you mean the
currently
one
by
on the other side of the
To the
property?
north.
Okay.
And to the front, so that my approval or my kind of recommendation is limited
Okay.
on that.
Okay.
Ms. Pollier? Any
I don't have
comments?
any additional comments to make.
Mr. Hicks? Mr. Greenberg?
I agree with Mr. Shapaka, and I'll support, but have concerns going forward that we stay within the guidelines of the city, and we don't create a precedent here that's a problem.
I'm going to be in favor of the variance, agree with my colleagues. I think relative to the variance criteria specifically, I don't think it's substantive, given that there was a fence there. And any vision that was, I guess, obscured, if there were to be any, would have been already there because of the hedges. I don't think it's going to affect any delivery of governmental services, running down the criteria. So for those reasons, I'm in favor.
Mr. Markin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll also be in favor, and as my colleague said, prefer not to set precedent. I think with the hedges, this does work, assuming the 2 foot out of the right-of-way is removed, which sounds like it is not optional to keep that. I also agree with Mr. Hicks on, is there really a need for a fence here? I understand, I guess it does help control the weeds, but it's a lot of infrastructure to control some weeds, but I will be in support because it replaces an existing fence.
I'm also going to be supporting this with some hesitation based upon the, again, setting the precedents. One just kind of comment I will make is that I drive down this stretch of road quite often. I didn't even notice that it was there. So either I'm really focused on the road or it's just not sticking out. But I would just say that going forward, again, just make sure that you rectify the right-of-way issue. And when it gets to the point of sustaining it, just make it consistent with what's already there.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Hicks and a second by Ms. Pollier. Clerk, please call the roll.
Hicks,
No.
Pollier,
No.
Mako,
Yes.
Shapaka,
Yes.
Siriano,
Yes.
Tamarkin,
Yes.
Greenberg.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, the next agenda item, unfinished business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't believe we have any unfinished business.
No, sir.
Any new business?
No, sir.
Going on to official reports. Assistant City Attorney,
Nothing to report?
Director of Planning.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. let's see, what did I have? Okay, for our next planning commission meeting, we have, we'll have a parking variance, and we'll also have a gas station on Granville Street. So a little bit more meat to the agenda than we had tonight. And then this kind of goes to planning and council report. The zoning code was adopted last Monday. It means it'll April 1st. Want to give a sincere thanks to everyone involved, planning commission, administration, city council, staff, or our consultant for all the hard work. Very much appreciated. It's going to be very exciting to see that get implemented and all that. And I'm sure probably before summertime, you'll see us before you with some code revisions and things of that nature. And then another item that was presented and approved at City Council last Monday, April 1st, the tax abatement for Burns and Scalo was approved. We just saw that a couple of weeks ago. That was in off of Tech Center Drive. I believe it was about a $10 million project, and if you go out that way, you'll start to see some construction activities. So, yes, you'll notice. So the tax abatement was approved, and that's a great win for the city. It's, again, like a $10 million project, and I've been involved in that property and some of those properties with marketing and trying to get folks interested. And if you see it, since it's cleared, you'll see all the topography and some things that make it a little bit of a challenge. It's a great site, though, and it's a great use. So we're really happy for that. And with that, I'll be quiet. Thank you. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'd be remiss if I didn't give a big shout out and thank you and congratulations to Pam Ripley for her impending retirement. We're going to miss you, Pam. No, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Mayor?
Thank you. I will be brief. First of all, thanks to all of you who were able to attend State of Our City. I think it was last week, maybe the week before. I really don't remember at this point. But we had a lovely turnout that night. We had a little bit of a different format that seemed to be very much appreciated. People had an opportunity to talk with all the various department directors and members of staff. They didn't have to listen to me for 45 minutes. It was wonderful. But there is a video that we showed that night. It is up on the city's YouTube channel, which highlights the 2023 results, some of them that we had. So I encourage you to take a look at that as well. And thank you again. The last time we were here 2 weeks ago for 825 Tech Center Drive, you approved our final development plan, design review, et cetera. And I am very excited to say that our bonds closed today. So we are looking to begin construction April 29th over at 825 Tech Center Drive, and then all the fun will really begin. And also Pam, Michael, thank you for that. My friend, I've known you forever. I'll see you before you officially go, but thank you for all of your tremendous work. It's been an honor to work with you and a joy to call you a friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do not have any official report. Correspondence and actions?
No, sir.
Poll member for comment. Ms. Pecca? Ms. Paglia?
I don't have any comments, no. Sorry.
Ms. Greenberg?
Congratulations, Pam.
Thank you.
If you need any retirement lessons, just stop by.
No, just thank you for your years of service, Pam, and congratulations on retirement. Wish you the best.
I'll just second that. Best of luck to you, Pam. Best wishes.
I'll just echo those comments and sentiments. Congratulations on a good career. That's fantastic. Okay, any other business to come before us? Seeing none, ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.